again, it is I, Derek from Tomcat Gas Training, and welcome to this video which is hopefully going to put a really big myth to bed. Anyway, before we get into this video, please could you take some time to subscribe because it helps my channel. Don't forget to hit that notification bell because I don't even know when I'm uploading videos at the moment. And don't forget to give me that thumbs up. Anyway, that's enough waffle. I'm messing around, so let's get on with it and find out what this video is all about. Now then, what's this myth we're talking about? Well, I keep seeing flying around the internet, people saying and people writing down that you don't need to be gas safe registered to work on gas. You just need to be competent to do so. Well, that's technically true, but it's both of them. You need to be competent and gas safe registered. But then you hear people saying, I can do whatever I want in my own house. You can, but not where gas is concerned. Also, you hear on the internet, I can do whatever I want on a boiler as long as I don't get paid for it. Well, we're going to put that myth to bed as well. And the other one is, I can service my own boiler. I know what I'm doing. Well, we're going to put that myth to bed as well. So, let's start off with finding out some evidence all about this, because there's some of you people out there who's still not going to believe me when I say the short answer of you cannot work on gas unless you are competent and gas safe registered. You'll still won't believe me and you'll still go, oh, well, he's talking rubbish. So let's find some hard evidence to prove my point, that you must be competent and gas safe registered to work on gas in the UK. So, let's find it all out then. Now then, the first place we might find some hard evidence is this, which is basically the Gas Safety Installation and Use Regulations 1998. Well, that's a long time ago, 1998, isn't it? But it has been amended in 2018. So, let's have a look in this little beauty and find out what the regulations say about working on gas in the UK. Now, the first bit of evidence we've got is Regulation 3. Regulation 3, as you can see behind me here, is qualifications and supervision. And the first paragraph, so paragraph 1, states, no person shall carry out any work in relationship to gas fittings or gas storage vessels unless she is competent to do so. So, that's paragraph 1. Now then, some of you will be saying, competent. What actually makes you competent to be able to work on gas? Now then, what makes you competent to drive a car? A driving licence. How do you get a driving licence? You take lessons with a regulated driving instructor or somebody who's already qualified to drive. And then you have to take a test. Now you have to take 2 tests. You have to take a theory test and a practical to prove that you are able to drive a car. That's what makes you competent to drive a car. What makes you competent to be a gas engineer? Well, some people think, yeah, I'm competent to do so. I've read the manual. Nah, that don't make you competent. Some people say, I've watched one of them Alan Hart videos on YouTube and one of them Tomcat ones and PB Plumber. I've watched them on YouTube. That makes me competent. No, it don't. It does not make you competent to service or install or play around with gas just because you've watched a YouTube video. Some people even say, well, I used to be a gas engineer 20 years ago, and so that makes me competent. No, it doesn't. Because there is another section in this paragraph 3 which we need to look at. But first thing, what makes you competent? What makes you competent is being ACS accredited. So, let's find out what that's all about. Now, what's this ACS all about? Well, basically ACS stands for Accredited Certification Scheme, which is a nationally run course which makes gas engineers competent to work on gas. So what do they have to do? So every 5 years they come into a training centre like mine and they take exams to actually make them competent to work in certain fields of gas. So, not every gas engineer is qualified to work on everything. Now, everybody has to do what we call CCM1, which is the basic safety in gas, but then they can go on to do different appliances. So in CCM1, the guys will also do CPA1, which is Combustion Performance Analyst, so they will learn to use flue gas analyzers. That's important, we'll come to that later. And then they can be tested on appliances such as boilers, which is SEMWAT, which is boilers and water heaters, cookers, CKR1, HTR1 is fires, and MET1 is meters. They can also do warm air units and loads of other stuff as well. So you will find all the information on what they are qualified on the back of their gas safe card. So before a gas engineer can call themselves a gas engineer, they need to do an ACS course. But if you're coming into the industry, you can't just go and do an ACS course, you have to do a managed learning program, which is run by companies like myself. I do a managed learning program, which is run on behalf of Logic's certification, which is based on IGEM's qualification. IGEM is the Institute of Gas Engineers and Managers. So it's all regulated. So to become a gas engineer, you have to follow a managed learning program. And once you are a gas engineer, every 5 years, you have to take an ACS assessment to prove you are competent to work on gas. So there's that word, competent. So in that first paragraph we had in the gas safety installation and use regulations, you must be competent. That's how you get competent. Not reading a book, not reading a manual, and certainly not watching one of my videos, or PB Plumbers, or Alan Hart's, or James from Plumber Parts. You cannot watch those videos to make you competent. You must either do a managed learning program to get into the ACS scheme, and then do the ACS, and then you can go on to be gas safe registered. So let's have a look at that other part in the gas safety installation and use regulations I was talking about at the beginning. Let's go back to our gas safety installation and use regulations, but this time we're going to look at paragraph 2. Now this is a bit of a hard thing to swallow, so just bear with me, I will read it out to you. The employer of any persons carry out such work for that employer, every other employer and self-employed person who is in control at any extent of such work, and every employer and self-employed person who has required such work to be carried out in any place of work under his/her control, shall ensure that paragraph 1 above is complied with in relationship to such work. So what does that mean? Well, basically it means if you're having any work done at home and you are a homeowner and you want a gas engineer to carry out any work in your house, you must make sure that that gas engineer is actually qualified under ACS and gas safe to be able to carry out said work. So if you knowingly know the person who is doing the work is not gas safe registered and not qualified to do so, you are actually breaking the law, and that could affect your house insurance as well as any warranties and stuff like that. So before you have any work done, make sure the gas engineer is actually qualified to be able to carry out that said work. Anyway, that's paragraph 2. Got to make sure you're qualified to work on whatever you're working on. Now let's continue and have a look at paragraph 3 of regulation 3. Without prejudice to the generality of paragraph 1 and 2 above, and subject to paragraph 4 below, an employer shall allow any of his/her employees to carry out any work in relationship to gas fittings or service pipe work, and no self-employed person shall carry out any such work unless the employer or self-employed person, as the case may be, is a member of a class of persons approved for the time being by the Health and Safety Executive of the purpose of this paragraph. So what does that gobbledygook mean? Well, basically it means you have to be gas safe registered to work on gas and gas fittings and gas appliances. So hopefully now that's put that myth to bed that a competent person is somebody who just read a book or whatever, or you're doing it yourself. Any DIY is thinking, I can have a go at that, I'm competent. No, you're not, because under the regulations you're only competent if you hold the current, and I mean current, ACS certification for the task in hand. So if you want to install a boiler, you must have ACS, CCM1, CPA1 and SEMWAT to be able to work on boilers. If you do not hold those qualifications, you are deemed not competent to do so. And that's in a court of law as well. So when you're doing your old DIY stuff and you think, I can fit that boiler and save myself a few quid, you're breaking the law because you are not deemed competent to do so in the regulations. So just bear that in mind. Now, there are other regulations that you could be breaking when installing things like a gas boiler in your own home if you're a homeowner and not a qualified gas engineer competent to do so. And that's the building regs. So when you install a boiler, you have to install it to building compliance. So a building compliance certificate will need to be issued. And the only way you can get a building compliance certificate for a boiler is if the installer is gas safe registered. So they can either do it via gas safe themselves, or they can do it via the manufacturer's app, and the manufacturer will only allow them to register the boiler under building control if the company is gas safe registered. Now, you can't ring up building control and get them to come out and check it. You can do with things like unvented cylinders. You could install your own unvented cylinder, but you need to get building control to come out and inspect it, and you would have to pay a fee for that, which is probably more than actually getting it installed by the engineers anyway. So that's another hint and clue that the engineer has to be gas safe registered because of the building compliance certificate. We've also got Part L of the building regs, and we've also got Boiler Plus now, where boilers need to be installed with the correct and appropriate controls. And you might not know about them if you're a DIYer. So that's other things you could be breaking the law on. Also, most of the boiler manufacturer's instructions state that the boiler must be installed by a competent gas safe registered installer. Again, competent meaning qualified, having SEMWAT and CCM1 and CPA1. So all these guys now, hopefully you say, you can install your own boiler because you can do what you want in your own house. Hopefully now you will realise you can't. You have to be competent and gas safe registered. So hopefully now you've seen it in black and white, according to the regulations, what you can and what you can't do. Let's clear up a few other little issues as well. So I hear a lot that, yeah, I can install my own boiler and I can get a gas safe registered engineer to come and sign it off. No, you can't. And if gas safe find out about it, the engineer who signed it off and the guy who has actually installed it are open to prosecution. Can I get a plumber to fit the boiler and then get a gas engineer to sign it off? No, you can't do that either. But a qualified plumber can do things like install a radiator and install the flow and return pipework, but they cannot connect the hot and cold and the flow and return to the boiler or the gas. The gas safe registered engineer must do that. Who is qualified to actually install boilers, remember? Can't have cookers and be gas safe and install boilers. And this one, as long as I'm not getting paid for it, I can install a boiler or service a boiler or any gas appliance, and I'm not gas safe registered and I'm not competent to do so. Who thought of that one? Who in their right mind would install a boiler for nothing? Or service a boiler for nothing? And it could say for family, I'll do it for family or friends. I still wouldn't install a boiler or service it for my mum and dad for nothing. So that one's always got me. As long as I'm not getting paid for it, I can do whatever I want. What if you blow the house up and you kill somebody? Or you give them carbon monoxide poisoning? Or they have a massive gas leak and they're lucky that it doesn't blow anything up? When it goes to court, what are you going to say? You can't put me in prison because I've not got paid for it? That's not going to be a good defence, is it? That's one that's always kind of worried me, that it's out there. As long as I don't get paid for it, I can do boiler installs and servicing. And I don't have to be competent or gas safe registered. Really? So hopefully that's cleared a few things up also. But let's have a look at a few things that you can actually do on gas appliances as a member of the general public or a plumber or a non-registered gas engineer. Okay, there is probably 3 tasks you can do on a cooker where you don't need to be gas safe registered to do them. One of them would be to replace your gas tap knob. Okay, so if your gas tap knob is missing off the front, you can actually buy a new one and replace it yourself. Another one you can do is actually cleaning the cooker. So you can actually clean the cooker and you can remove these and clean them to the manufacturer's instructions without needing to be gas safe registered. So if the manufacturer tells you can do it, you can do it. Also, behind the cooker, if I move it out of the way, there is the cooker hose and the bayonet. So you can actually remove the cooker hose by pressing the hose in, twisting and pulling it out, because it's self-closing on the bayonet. It's designed to do that. So you could do that as well, move it out of the way and clean it. It looks like I need to clean behind here anyway, but anyway, you can do that legally. You can disconnect your cooker and reconnect it to clean behind it. Also, this cooker comes with a stability chain already fixed to the cooker, but there's no hook for it. So for a 4th one, you could put the stability chain or the bracket on there, because you can have a bracket at the bottom if you've got a high level cooker. So they're probably the only things you can do, not being gas safe registered, to your cooker. You cannot install it because you won't be qualified to commission it, and it's the commissioning bit what's important. Let's have a look and see if there's anything you can do on a boiler. So here you can see I've got 2 boilers behind me. This is a glowworm boiler and this is an Ariston boiler. Now, like I said before, if you are a qualified plumber or you want to do a bit of DIY, you could install the radiators, you could install the pipework if you knew what you were doing, all the way back to the boiler. But you would not be able to put the boiler on the wall because the gas engineer needs to put the bracket on. You would not be able to do anything with the flue. Well, you could make the hole for the flue, but you can't actually install the flue, and you can't make the final connections to the boiler or actually do anything with the gas whatsoever. But can you do your own repairs on your boiler? No, not unless you're qualified or competent to do so. But it does say in the regulations, if you are a qualified plumber or electrician, as long as you don't have to go into the combustion chamber or it's anything to do with gas, so you couldn't change the gas valve, you couldn't change the fan, you couldn't change an air pressure switch, you couldn't do a PCB, you couldn't do any of those changes because they're all connected to working the gas. You could do the plate-to-plate heat exchanger, you could do a diverter valve, you could do a pump, say if you were an electrician or a plumber, but different boilers have different casings. So if we take this Ariston first, if I remove this plastic here, I've basically got 2 screws here to undo. So I'll undo these. So we can see this is a decorative cover, because this is the combustion chamber. So if I pull this flap down, I could technically work on this here. If I was an electrician, I could wire the controls in and stuff like that, or I could actually wire it to the fuse spur, and you could see in the wet side you could work on that. But if I take the cover off this glowworm, you can see this is not just a decorative cover, this is actually the combustion chamber seal. This is the big seal you can see here. And all the components are inside here. And this is how a lot of the boilers are now. Okay? They use the main cover as the combustion seal. So you wouldn't be able to do any work on this because you've actually got into the combustion side. So you would have to do a sweep test after you commission this boiler using your flue gas analyzer to test the seal around here to see that it isn't damaged or broken. So yes, in some situations you can work on your own boiler, but no. If you have to get in the combustion side, you ain't doing any of those tests. Also, when it comes to commissioning boilers, you need to use a flue gas analyzer. And if you are a DIYer, are you going to have a flue gas analyzer? No. Well, then you're not going to be able to test the combustion. You're not going to be able to test the installation of the flue. So it would be an uncommissioned appliance. And an uncommissioned appliance is deemed as immediately dangerous in the unsafe situations procedure. So you could be open to prosecution if you try and install your own boiler, because you won't be complying with the building regs, you won't be complying with the gas regs, and you will be leaving an uncommissioned appliance. So, shall we see if there's anything you can do on fires? Now, my advice with gas fires, whether they are insect live fuel effect ones, or whether you've got radiant gas fires, leave them alone. And especially flueless gas fires or flueless space heaters. Make sure you use a competent gas registered installer for fires, and make sure you have them serviced every year. Never ever try and mess with a fire, and definitely don't ever try and install a flueless space heater if you are not a competent gas registered engineer. Now then, can I just take a few seconds of your valuable time to show you these pictures behind me? This is what we find on a regular basis as gas engineers out there in the field, and we should not be seeing these. Now, these pictures behind me have not been installed by gas engineers. They've been done by DIYers. Okay, so first of all, let's have a look at this one. Now, this is a gas hob. Now, we know this hasn't been installed by a gas engineer, because straight away gas engineers know you cannot use push fit fittings on gas. It's immediately dangerous and it's RIDDOR reportable. Also, they know they can't use water fittings on gas, and this is a flexible tap connector. And there's also no isolation valve on this hob, so we definitely know this one hasn't been installed by a gas safe registered installer. It's been installed by a DIYer. Now the next one's boiler installs. You can't tell me this has been installed by a registered gas installer who is audited on a regular basis. Not a chance. Look at the state of it. Okay? And this last one, installed in a garage, no. You cannot tell me that's been installed by a gas safe registered engineer. It's been installed by a DIYer. So you do not install boilers, cookers or fires or play around with gas unless you are competent to do so and gas safe registered. These Muppets who installed this, they weren't gas safe registered, and they definitely weren't competent to install these appliances, as you can quite clearly see. Let me just leave you with some figures. 30 deaths per year and 250 people injured per year due to carbon monoxide poisoning. There are 250,000 gas jobs illegally performed each year, whether they're by non-registered engineers or your DIYers. There are 7,500 illegal gas fitters known to be in the UK at any one time. And finally, there may be 7 million homes in the UK as we speak with dangerous gas appliances. Why? So, if you're thinking about installing your own boiler, fire or cooker, and you're not competent and you're not gas safe registered, don't. If you're thinking of getting Joe Bloggs from down the pub because you know he fitted your next door neighbour's gas fire and he's not gas safe registered or never has been, don't. If you're thinking of using a plumber to install your boiler because he's cheaper than the gas engineer, don't. So, if you've liked this video, why don't you give me a thumbs up or leave a constructive comment down below. If you've not subscribed to my channel, then please subscribe because it helps. And don't forget to hit that notification bell because I want YouTube to tell you when I'm uploading videos. Because I have got no clue at the moment. All I've got left to say is, thanks for listening, thanks for watching, and stay safe and use a gas safe registered competent engineer next time you want some gas work doing. Catch you on the next one. Cheers.